コミックパンダ.
This all happened during my final summer vacation of high school. My friend and I decided to take a trip together and reserved a cheap hotel in the mountains. Unfortunately, the owners of the hotel made a mistake and double booked our rooms. Is there any place we can stay? The caretaker picked up the phone and made a call. He suggested that we stay at a rental cottage that is close to the hotel. The caretaker seemed to have an argument with the person on the other side of the phone. I was a little worried, but when I heard that they would rent out the cottage for less money, it really calmed down my friends, and we decided to stay in the cottage. The caretaker had to clean and prepare the cottage, so we had to wait. We were finally shown to the cottage when the sun started to set. The cottage was in the middle of the forest. It was quiet because there was nothing around it. The caretaker said, "The cottage is a little old, but the electricity and water works with no problem. Unfortunately, cell phones don't work in this area, but there is a phone that connects directly to the caretaker's room. There shouldn't be any problems." He seemed desperate to explain everything, so we all got a little nervous. Unfortunately, there was not any other place to stay. Oh well, this place looks cool. It doesn't feel haunted or anything like that. Actually, bears live in this area, so be sure to stay inside at night. He really wanted to make sure we knew that we shouldn't go out at night before he turned around and left us in the cottage. The day started with our plans being ruined and not being able to stay at the hotel, but we had a good time for the rest of the night, and the day ended without incident. The next morning, one of my friends said something strange. I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and I could hear something like the sounds of drums outside. Drums? You must have been dreaming. Yeah, I guess so. That night, after dinner, we decided to ignore the groundskeeper and went out for some fun. When we returned to the cottage, we came upon a guy in his 20s standing in front of the cottage with his hand on the doorknob. We knew it wasn't the caretaker. We approached the man, but he did not move at all. We knew something was wrong. So, "What are you doing?" We called out to the man, but he did not reply. "Can't you hear us?" I grabbed the man's arm and pulled him away. It was then that stretch. His arm stretched like rubber and bent at a strange angle. Ah! Without thinking, I jumped back away from the man. The man finally turned in our direction, but his eyes were not focused on anything at all. His mouth was open and drool was dripping down his chin. I couldn't help but notice that his clothing was in shambles. There was nothing normal about this guy. We were struck speechless by the situation. The man acted as if he didn't see us and staggered off into the depths of the forest. We all suddenly understood what kind of situation we were in and ran into the cottage to lock all the doors and windows. What was that? Was it a ghost? But he was able to touch it. How did his arm bend like that? We were all panicking when suddenly we could hear the sound of drum outside of the cottage. The sound was slowly coming in our direction. We all stopped and did our best to hear what was happening outside. The sound made its way to the garden in front of the cottage. We were all very uneasy about the situation, but I had to know what was there. I opened the living room curtain and looked out. I could see a sphere that was about 5 meters tall, slowly rolling its way towards us. That was where the sound of the drums were coming from. The ball starts rolling with a bang and ends rolling with a bang. We all quietly watched the ball from the safety of the cottage. He was getting closer and closer to us. The security lights in front of the cottage turned out. Huh? It suddenly got lit up. It could only be called a ball of 100 of human bodies. The humans were all different, but like the man at the door, their eyes were not focused on anything. Their bodies were all tangled up. The ball made of the bodies rolled forward again. The sound of the drums stopped, but suddenly, from the front door, the sound of furious pounding came. We were all scared and did not know what to do. We covered our ears in panic. Suddenly, from within the cottage, came the sound of pounding on the windows and walls. Wait, the phone! We remembered the phone and rushed towards the entrance where it was. I pushed the talk button and the sound of the caretaker's voice answered after a few rings. Hello? We quickly explained what was happening and the caretaker said, "Not again," under his breath. He quickly told us to get the talismans from the small shrine in the cottage and stick them on the doors. I had no idea what the caretaker was talking about when he said again, but I didn't have any time to ask. We quickly found the talismans and ran around putting them on the doors. As I was putting one of the talismans on the window, I couldn't help looking to see what was happening outside. Ah! And naturally, bent pale arms slammed in the window many times. The sound finally died out when the sun started to rise. Did we survive? The caretakers finally came for us, and we questioned them about what happened. That cottage was built just about 50 years ago. After that, people could hear the sounds of the drums and saw that sphere. The owners of the cottage kept disappearing after that. After that, a purification ritual was performed and everything calmed down. That's why they thought it was okay if we used the cottage. We are so sorry. Please don't let anyone know what happened here. They apologized for what happened and even paid back the cost of our trip there. They kept apologizing for a long time. A year has passed since that day. I heard that cottage was torn down and only a vacant lot stands there now.